All right. Well, folks are in and getting situated. Hello from Belgium. Wow. All over the world. Very excited to have everybody with us today. And today is, we're doing a hangout that is connected with Module 2 for the Hope Symposium that we're doing, where we're talking about auriculotherapy and how to get great results. And so this hangout is kind of tied to that online seminar. It's available for free with free CE credits. And so hopefully many of us have had a chance to actually watch the online seminar, kind of receive the information, and we'll go from there and talk about auriculotherapy a bit, talk about questions, and learn from one another today.
Perfect. So, type a yes, a Y in the comments if you've already taken the CEU course, and type a no if you haven't taken it yet, just out of curiosity.
Oh yeah, that'll give us a better idea what everybody is doing. Estonia, Brooklyn, France, wow. India. And yes, I'd like to...
if you've taken it, no if you haven't yet.
And while people are answering that question, I'd like to point out that although there is credit for taking the online class, there is not credit for the hangout today. The hangout today is merely a question and answer, a learning session, but it's not tied to any specific credits. So if you want the credits, go do the course, take the test, get the credits. Very simple on the website to do that. Perfect.
Ravi asked, is there any chance to revisit? And so yes, you still can take the CEU course. It's there and waiting for you.
Yeah, in fact, while that subject is up, let me go ahead and share my screen and I'll show you exactly where to go. If you go to acugraph.com/hope, then you can see on this webpage, we've got the brand new credits for 2021. And today we're doing Module 2, Auriculotherapy for Supercharged Acupuncture Results. So you just click View Now. That'll take you to our learning portal where you can log in and take the course for free. And if you don't have a learning portal login, you just create one when you get there. So no big deal at all. Please avail yourselves of the free training. So
it's always nice to have those CEUs tucked in a file when it's when your yearly time comes up and it's time to send them in, right? It's horrible to scramble at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this training was a training that we did in 2019, and we did it here in Boise, and it was a lot of fun. Looking forward to the days when we can do those live trainings again. But meanwhile, this is the next best thing. And it's interesting to look at the number of things that have changed since we did this training in 2019. You may recall, if you watched the training, we did a quick preview of Auriculo 360, which was still in its infancy back then. And when we talked about Auriculo 360 back in those days, we thought we were just about to release it. It was, coming along well. We had a beautiful model of an ear. We were very excited about all of that. And then when we got more into the nitty-gritty of perfecting it and making it good and making it work across all the different platforms it needed to work on, we found out that we weren't nearly as close as we thought. And so 2 years later, just about, it was finally released. And so now we have Auriculo 360, the product that we first previewed back in 2019 at this seminar. So, and Auriculo 3D, which we were using in the seminar, has been retired and replaced with the newer, more modern Auriculo 360 because you can have 3D access across all of your devices and synchronize all of your notes, all of your points, all of your protocols. So that's one major change that we've had since then. And I think it's a major improvement. With that, I want to just kind of review a couple of things that we talked about while we were in the seminar, and then I'm going to open it up to questions. But one of the main things that we talked about in the seminar was that getting great results with auriculotherapy doesn't have to be incredibly complex or difficult. If you have a good chart to show you where the points are, and you have a good tool to locate and treat the points, then you can get great results. And you can go very deep. You can study Nogier's 3 phases, for example. You can study all sorts of different approaches and systems, and you can make it extremely complex if you'd like. But in the end, it's really quite simple. And Dr. Kimberly, I want to put you on the spot just a bit, because when we first started this project, you may recall, and in the seminar, there was a little trip down memory lane back to the days when we had the big ear on the wall that we're putting dots on and trying to synthesize all the knowledge from all the textbooks onto one ear. And remember back in those days, you didn't really do much with the ear other than what you'd been taught in school, which was a few points and put in some needles. And since that time, you've really kind of become quite an advocate for auriculotherapy. I wanted to kind of put you on the spot and just ask you, how are you using auriculotherapy in your practice?
When I'm working with my patients, I work in a series of visits, and the series allows me to shift my focus on any particular treatment. So, if when I'm working with AcuGrowth and I have a lot of imbalances, I may be working one particular way. But now that I have multiple tools, I can use, like, the point of select. I can scan the entire ear and put the whole body in balance. Big mess on a graph, that is one way that I use the point of select. Mm-hmm. If I have a patient that is suffering from anxiety, I'm working on acupuncture points in their body to rebalance their body, and then I might put ear seeds in their ear. Instead of needles, I'll put seeds in their ear and send them home so they can self-treat in between. Sometimes I'm using needles in the ear and adding specific points to shoulder pain while I'm treating them down on the table. So I can come at it from many different angles. I love that I can balance the whole body with the ear. I love that I can use it as a branch treatment, an adjunct care, especially for sending them home for treatment. And I'll be known to have a patient come out of the treatment room after treatment. Let's say they're a new patient and they came in with sciatic pain or neck and shoulder. Let's go with neck and shoulder pain. Mm-hmm. They come in with pain, and when they get off the table and you ask them, how are you doing? Are you doing a lot better? At the end, if they're super excited, they're like, oh yeah, I'm a lot better, but I'm still hurting right here. That's when I pull out my auriculotherapy and add a little bit more to the treatment. And that's when the jaw drops. That's when they look at me like, how did you do that? So I use it on many different, on a whole range of treatments.
Very cool. Very cool. And in a little while, we're going to talk about some of the various specific methods used. But for now, one thing that I wanted to kind of survey everybody, and there's a question here. It says, can one use laser stimulation? And this is a great segue into the first topic that I kind of want to talk about as a group. And that is the different methods of stimulating points on the ear. So we can use electric, we can use needles, lasers, there's the press-on tacks or beads or seeds. I'd like to just kind of get a quick survey. How many of you are needling the ear? Just kind of put it in the little chat window if you yes needle or no needle, because I know some people don't needle the ear at all and some do. And I'm just curious. I'd like to kind of see what the split is in this class. We've got about 50 people in the class right now. So I'm seeing, so far the yeses are quite ahead. Okay. Now there's a lot of no's coming in.
No's are catching up.
Oh, wow. There's a lot of no's. Okay. Cool. And then the
So,
second, oh, go ahead.
yeah, I'll let you ask your second one. I'm just curious on these no's, but go ahead.
Well, on the
I
nose,
jumped in.
that's what I was going to ask. Those of you who are not needling, and even those of you who are, but maybe that's not your main go-to, would you respond in and tell us what is your favorite treatment modality? What do you most often use to treat the ear? Again, I just want to get a feel for what folks are doing out there.
Plus Pro, seeds, point of select, seeds.
Needles and seeds, Stim Plus Pro, ASPs and seeds, good. Needles, Stim Plus Pro, laser, electrostim, seeds, magnets, and frequencies. There we go. Okay, good. Quite comfortable with seeds. Yeah. Silver and gold. Excellent. Okay, cool. I appreciate a pointer plus. There we go. Good to see you here, by the way, Howard. Quick shout out to Howard Wu, old friend. All right, so we're seeing, if you're getting the flavor of this, the flavor is that there are a lot of different ways to stimulate the ear, a lot of different ways to treat the points, and they're obviously all represented here, and they all work. They all get good results. So there's no specific right way or wrong way to do this. And so for those of you that are just starting out, I noticed a couple of you in there saying, hey, I'm hoping to do this more, or I'm hoping to get started. There's nothing too complex that you have to do to start stimulating points. In the class, I had a bunch of tools. I had little metal probes. I had little wooden probes. I had electric locators. I had lasers. There's all of those work. Dr. Kimberly, one other question for you.
Yes, I was looking for a tool.
Oh, okay. You use the stick-on tacks. And there's also, the seeds, the little metal pellets or beads. Of those that are kind of the take-homes where you stick it on and you leave it on and the patient can take it home with them and wear it for a few days, which one is your go-to?
My go-to are the little gold pellets that they use for Korean hand therapy. I really like the Band-Aid. I feel like it stays. I like the little gold pellet. People have left those on for a week or so before they come back in for a visit, and they stay really well. So that's what I use. I use a gold pellet.
Okay. And the gold, typically, do you use that with the approach of tonifying? Gold tends to tonify, or is it simply that's
yeah,
what
gold,
they come in?
Gold tends to tonify, but in general, I don't know why I chose gold. I chose, that's just what I bought. I bought a bunch of gold ones and they work. And I feel like if we're going to stimulate deeper than the patient is pressing on them, I don't know. Yeah. I chose one and it works. I didn't want to get too complicated.
Well, and that's again, the beauty and the simplicity of it. So with that in mind, I'm going to jump into kind of the first complication, if you want to call it that. And it's really not complicated at all, but the first next level thing, and that is talking about using Nogier frequencies. So I'm going to share my screen. And as you can see, we've got an ear up here in Auriculotherapy. I'll just pick a protocol here. I'll find one with not many points because we want a fairly simple one to begin with. Golly, these all have a fair number of points. Here we go, dry mouth. Not too many points here. And when we click on this little picture of the ear with all the colors, we overlay the Nogier frequencies. And I know that many of us are familiar with the Nogier frequencies. For some of you here, this may be new. So let me give just a moment of overview of the Nogier frequencies, and then I want to talk about how we use them. But the Nogier frequencies are areas of the ear that respond specifically or respond more effectively to a specific electrical frequency of treatment or laser frequency of treatment. And as you can see down here in the lower right corner, there are specific frequencies that are very precise. So the yellow area, for example, that's going to respond to 9.1 hertz of electric, 1168 hertz using a laser. And so all of the points that are in this area, you would treat with that frequency if you have a tool that'll do that. And so if I go back here to the interactive chart, you can see that there are quite a number of points and areas in that yellow frequency zone. And likewise for each of these frequency zones, with one specific exception, and that is down here, the corpus callosum point. That is the one specific point that gets the 2.3 hertz. And then everything else around it is actually in the 18.3 hertz zone. So that's what you can do with these. And if you have a tool that'll do that, then that's how you treat. And a point I wanted to make is that these are not frequencies used in electrically detecting points. When you electrically detect points, you're not using a frequency. You're only using a specific frequency when you stimulate or treat the points. And a little bit later, we're going to talk about the Point of Select digital tool, because I've already seen some questions come up in the chat around that. And it seems like people generally want a little help getting that tool set up, making sure that they're doing it right. So we'll do a little bit of talking about that. I've got mine sitting over here. But before we do that, I wanted to just entertain and see if there are any questions about the Nogier frequencies on the ear, how to find them, how to use them, when to treat them. So I'm going to stop sharing so I can see the chat and see what folks are saying.
While we're waiting for those questions to come up, I know we have a lot of people in here on many realms of their journey for auriculotherapy. So if you are brand new starting with auriculotherapy, or you've been doing it for a while and you're taking it to a new level, or if you're advanced, I think the thing that I have learned over the years is the reason auriculotherapy people get excited about it is simply because it works. I mean, you can be good, you can be better, and you can be the best at auriculotherapy. So you can be good at auriculotherapy just by knowing where a point is. If you know where a master shoulder point is, and you could treat that point and stop shoulder pain on somebody really fast just because you know where the point is, you're good. You know a few protocols for anxiety or constipation or whatever your situation is, and you know where those points are, you can be good. You'll be better at auriculotherapy if you know now you have a list of these points, but if you have a device where you can find out which ones are electrically active, that makes you better. So that's where some of the devices that Dr. Adrian, that's when I became better. First, I became good because I knew where points were, and that was exciting. Then I became better because I could look at a chart and say, okay, here's where the points are. But if I scan the ear and find the electrically active ones, then I'm treating the best points for that person. So do you see how that takes you to the better, good to better? Then when you become the best at auriculotherapy is now you know how to find the electrically active points. And when you're on whatever zone of the ear you're on and you're treating with the right frequency, that's where the Nogier frequencies come into play. And that's where some of our advanced devices finding the positive and the negative point. So there's different realms of it all along the way. And it doesn't matter where you are, be where you're at and start from there, but you can build upon it. And that's been my journey over the last 15 years, I would say. Good, better, best.
Excellent. You know, I love that you brought up shoulder pain, because that was actually one I was going to walk through. So as a quick learning exercise, I'm going to put up the shoulder pain protocol on the screen, and let's talk about how you would walk through a treatment on that. And then I see that there's some questions coming in here, and we'll answer those momentarily. But let's go ahead and walk through. This is the shoulder pain protocol. You can see over here in the left, and I've got some different points as well as a chain of points pulled up here. And so talking about how you would begin a shoulder pain treatment after you've already done acupuncture, whatever else you're going to do, but focusing on the ear, walk us through your steps, kind of your 1, 2, 3, Dr. Kimberly. Go ahead.
Sorry, ask me the question one more time. I was looking for a video that I wanted to share in a moment.
Oh, okay. Well, I've got the shoulder pain protocol up. Walk us through the steps, what you would do first, what you would do second, and how you would treat this ear.
Sure. So the first thing that I would do is pull up the shoulder pain protocol because that's what I know that they're suffering with. Now the points on the ear that I'm looking at are more fine-tuned based on the symptoms of that patient. Then I'm going to use a device. I'm either going to use my Pointo Select or my Stimplus Pro, and I am going to scan the ear where those points are that I see on the chart and see which ones are electrically active. And once I find the electrically active point, then I can push a button and treat. So looking at the ear the way it is now, I would have my Pointo Select or my Stimplus Pro in my hand. I would find the points that are electrically active. I would push the button, stimulate, and treat them. And while I was treating, I would leave a tiny little indentation on the point so that I could put an ear seed on it and send them home for self-treatment. If I wanted to take this up to a second level and be even better, will you put the zones over it, Adrian? I would start, if I was treating, I might start in the yellow frequency zone. So which would be A, B, C. It would be frequency zone C for Noget. I would scan with my Pointo Select in zone C, and I could check the entire spine. Those are those blue points. I can check all of
Pause right there. So checking the entire spine. So literally scanning all along that line of points for the cervical spine. And then anything that you find that's active, when you find it, you just push the button and treat it. So as you go along, find, treat, and just right along that line, correct?
Yeah, so that's going to include the cervical spine and the thoracic spine because all of that can be related to shoulder pain. Then I'm going to scan just next to those blue points and where it says clavicle, master shoulder. So there was clavicle C and clavicle E, that's Chinese and European. These are really classic points for shoulder pain. And I know where they are already. So, but now that I have my device in my hand, I'm scanning along that area. I'm finding which ones are active and I'm pushing a button and I'm treating, but I'm treating with that exact frequency. And that's how I have turned it up to a higher level for the good, better, best.
And then really quick, let's talk about posterior points. If I turn the ear sideways, the labeling gets a little wonky, but these points here that are called posterior, shoulder 1, 2, and 3 posterior, and then the posterior side of the ear in general. There's a difference between treating points on the front and treating points on the back, correct?
Yes, and I learned that after, they didn't teach me that in college. That came from going and even to a Noget seminar. I learned that if you're treating the front of the ear, anything musculoskeletal, if you're treating the front of the ear, you're treating tendons, bones, and ligaments. And if you are treating the back of the ear in that same exact location, you're treating more muscular. So along that cervical spine and the thoracic spine, if you're treating the front, then it is the bones, tendons, ligaments. But in that same exact zone on the back of the ear, you're treating the musculature related to it. So you can get really good results if you know the front and the back. In fact, when I put an ear seed on the front, I will, especially for pain, I will put one on the back to mirror it so that when the patient is stimulating their ear, they're stimulating from both the front and the back, and I will put points on both sides.
Very cool. And hey, I think we should all give you a round of applause because Dr. Kimberly literally came into this cold today, had no idea that I'd be throwing things at her and asking her to walk us through them. And she's just rolling with it and doing it like a pro because this is what she does all the time. So, hey, way to go, Dr. Kimberly. Thank you. That was great.
You're welcome. In the comments, I'm going to post a video. I'm kind of giggling because it's back from 2013 when Adrian and I were just really getting going with this whole auriculotherapy thing. And we created our first video and I was teaching people how I treat shoulder pain. And honestly, if you can be amazing at treating shoulder pain with auricular therapy, it is a game changer in your clinic. That's how I became known as a specialist in my town for neck and shoulder pain. And it's because all of the work that I did on auricular therapy, and it took it to the next level. So I'm going to post this YouTube. It's an oldie but goodie. It keeps shining. People like to watch it, and I'll post it there for you to grab and watch later.
From what year you said?
2013.
Oh boy. Outstanding. Well, we will look forward to that. I'm a little scared going back that far. That's going to be fun.
Well, you have to look at Adrian with, yeah. We
All
both
right.
look so different.
Oh, I'll bet we do, unfortunately. Okay. Well, with that, let's go through some of the questions. Looking at the chat here, we have, let's see, not very clear on the vision of 36 area on the helix and where it meets the 9.1 in the scaphoid fossa. Okay, so the 36 area on the helix and the 9.1 in the scaphoid fossa, is it on the wall? Let me put that up on the screen. And I'm just going to come up here to the interactive ear like this, get it nice and centered, and sorry, my Zoom is fighting with me here. There we go. Wow. All right. Sorry about that. So we were talking about where the 36.5 hertz area is. That's the green area here on the helix. And then coming down into the scaphoid fossa, the yellow area, the 9.1. And so I'm going to put this back to rotating mode and we'll kind of zoom in here. And as you can see, it's kind of on the wall, as you asked. It's in an area, yeah, it's not down into the scaphoid fossa, but it's actually up on the wall. So kind of around the top of the rim there on the helix is going to be your 36. And then moving on down, you'll kind of cross over that line as you go down the wall. So hopefully that's helpful. And that's one of the cool things about a three-dimensional ear is that we can do that and move it around. All right, next questions. Okay, we have Dr. Li Chun Huang's protocols in the system. We do have some of those points and protocols in the system, yes. We drew from a large number of textbooks and took the best information we could from, it was over a dozen different textbooks and instructors and put them together. So yes, some of that is, it's nothing, nothing specific to one author though, or one teacher.
I'll tell you one of the things that I learned from that journey. It was my job to take all of the different textbooks and each author's his picture of where points go. So one author will draw an ear one way and another author will draw an ear another way and another author another way. And so when people will, I've been to shows where people will come up and argue with me and say, that is not where a point is. The ear is so subjective. You can twist it, you can turn it, you can have different sizes, different shapes, and you can't ever come up with an exact picture. And that's where the magic of being able to find the electrically active point. You can have a chart that has a general, almost perfect location for a picture, but where that point shows up on a particular day electrically could be very different.
Yeah, absolutely right. And
even in one book, they will have it in different places, right? Even in one textbook, we'll say, no, it belongs right here. And then I'll find it on another page and say, no, it belongs right here. There was a lot to learn.
Yeah. And it does. That's one of the frustrations of synthesizing all the information is when one book shows the same point in different locations. And then you have to try to clarify. We even reached out to some authors to get clarification in the process. While we're on that topic of point location, I do want to point out one other thing that I think is very useful, and that is here in Auriculo 360 and in Auriculo 3D before it, we have this auricular anatomy chart, which I find extraordinarily useful when talking about auricular anatomy and locations. So if we're talking about the helix and the scaphoid fossa and so on, and you're a little rusty on where those are all located, that's just over here under charts. Just look for auricular anatomy and it'll give you that nice outline there. Okay, so next questions. We have Marie Russell. I'm completing my certification through CIAM, Dr. Barr. I'm finding it more complicated to ensure the symptomatic, functional, and focus points are located for full treatment. It's much easier to simply use the VAS and treat active points, but more important to understand what one is actually accomplishing. And Marie, would you like to unmute and speak a little bit more about what you're doing there? We would love to hear from you, if you'd like.
Hello.
Hi.
Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. Thank you.
When I started studying Dr. Noget's methods using the VAS and simply the red light pen, and then I went on to using the point of select, it was very simple. You locate a point, you treat it, identifying precise order of points that you should treat. But now that I'm studying under Dr. Barr's training program with CIAM, I now have to focus on understanding every aspect of what I'm doing. So I have to know that I'm treating not only a common functional point, I'm also treating a symptomatic point, but I also have to identify a focus. Otherwise, the treatment would be temporary if I don't complete the treatments. So for me, it was a whole new level of training because I'm not a medically, I don't have a medical background of any kind. I stepped into doing auriculotherapy as a member of the general public. So this has been quite a wonderful experience for me. And I'm enjoying it tremendously. I would highly recommend anyone who wants to do a complete auriculotherapy program that they do the Dr. Barr as well.
Excellent. I appreciate that.
I like the philosophies of what they're treating because that's very similar to the way I think of the body. Because you're choosing some general points that are putting the body in balance. You're treating some symptomatic points, and then you're going to the area where the problem is, like the foot or the nose or the hip or the back. And that's exactly how we're treating when we're treating on the body. And I've always been fascinated by those who can do auriculotherapy all as its very own modality and get amazing results and treat somebody and they don't have to come back for 6 months later. The style that you're learning would be a full balanced method. But having said that, I also have found great value in the the point oh select. And if I didn't have a program like what you're learning, I obviously learned on the whole body to think in that way. But if I didn't have a program like that and I had the point oh select and I was able to scan each particular area of the ear, starting with frequency A and going all the way through all the frequencies, there is such huge power of what can be accomplished just by giving the focal attention to the active points. And I can have a patient come in, there's just this big ball of yarn that we can't unravel, and I don't know where to start with them. And I might begin by putting just 4 needles in the body. They're laying down, and I'm just focusing on the ear and balancing everything in the ear and just having them lay there and relax. When they come the next time, many layers have fallen off. And I didn't have the knowledge of exactly which point and why and how long and what I was doing with the whole thinking process of each point and putting it all together. But I did have the knowledge of, this is what the ear is telling me. I do have these tools and resources to treat the right frequency based on the particular zone and get phenomenal results. I've done that and changed a migraine from 10 out of 10 to 2 out of 10 in 15 minutes because the ear tells the truth.
Exactly.
And
thank you.
Marie, thank you for sharing about your program. This is an example of what we talked about, that you can go very deep into the ear and find wonderful effectiveness and wonderful ways to treat the entire body on a whole new level, just depending on how much time and effort and focus you want to put into it. So glad to hear that you're going all the way.
Well, this is my retirement program.
Oh, very cool.
You're going to be the one who can treat an ear, and I'll be in awe of you, because then they'll come back 6 months later and all is still well. That's pretty amazing.
Thank you.
Okay, Michelle asked, do you have protocols and tips for treating Peyronie's disease and psoriasis? Okay, let's take those one at a time. In terms of auriculotherapy, I don't know that there is a particular protocol for Peyronie's disease. For those of you who may not be aware, Peyronie's disease is a contracture of the tissue in one side of the penis, which causes an erection to deviate to one side. And the most typical treatment that you'll find in the medical world is actually ultrasound, which can be effective. In terms of treating with auriculotherapy, this is where it's nice to have a search feature, because you can jump in to your software and you can look for points that are specific to genitals. In this case, if I type penis, we get, first of all, some charts that show urogenital organs, reproductive organs, but then there's also specific protocols, or if there isn't a protocol for the specific item you're looking for, then you can find points that are specific to what you're looking for. So if you need to put together your own protocol, going through the search feature is one great way to do that, to help you find points. I noticed there's another question coming up about Tourette's syndrome. And same thing, if you type Tourette's, you're not going to find anything, but you can, for example, search on brain, and you'll see lots of protocols that involve brain, because the brain is involved in so many things. But if you scroll on down past protocols and get to points, then you'll find the specific brain points, and each one has information about what that point does, and you can read about the effects of each point. So if you spend a little time doing some homework, you may well find specifics that will be very applicable to the condition that you're treating. And of course, because you can create your own protocols in the software, as you find points that you like and want to use, you can add them to a protocol and put together a protocol of your own.
I wanted to just share, I get questions often about, how do you treat this symptom, and how do you treat this disease, and how do you treat this disease? And if people will send me a message and saying it's not in our program. So I will tell you that if you have something like Tourette's syndrome, and if you type in Tourette's syndrome into Google and you look up the general symptoms of Tourette's syndrome, you can treat based on the symptom. So if you don't find the disease that you're looking for, you can search the symptoms. Then on the next level, if you're a TCM practitioner, you can think of TCM patterns related to that problem and treat the TCM pattern and the symptom. If you are Western minded, you can go into Western minded philosophy and search for that in Auriculo 360 as well. So you can treat the right hormones, you can treat the right organ system, you can treat neurological points. So you can put it together and create a very unique treatment protocol based on your understanding of the body.
Yeah, and that's one of the beautiful things is the flexibility of being able to use the ear and put together a protocol according to your understanding, knowing that even if you get it wrong, the worst thing that happens is you don't have any positive effects. You're not going to do harm by treating points on the ear. If you select the wrong point, it simply doesn't do much. Okay, there is a question from Yolanda. Says, I am brand new with Auriculo, just finished an 8-day course detecting active points with the black and white hammer and the vase. Very cool, good for you. Would prefer to start treatment with a point of select digital and Nogier frequencies. Is there a basic course to learn how to work with this device? And I see Shireen answered with a link to a basic course. So thank you for that, Shireen. And then all of the auriculotherapies courses. I'll also add that the point of select, when you purchase it, if you purchase it from us, it comes with a free training course that is just specifically about the device. Here's how to set it up. Here's what each button does. Here's each setting, and it walks you through step by step. So that's how you get your training there as well. If you do end up getting that device, we'll make sure you're taken care of with training. Howard Wu says the point of select has bar frequencies as well, but I don't know what they do. Yeah, Howard, I'm with you. I've not been trained in bars frequencies specifically. I've been trained in Nogiers, and so I don't tend to use the bar frequencies in the point of select digital. But if there is someone who is trained in the use of those frequencies, then you've got them all pre-programmed into the device and ready to use.
And isn't that what you're doing, Marie? Bar frequencies?
I'm actually using Nogier frequencies. I'm using the point of select. I have been trained under bar, but I don't have the stimulation or laser system that they use, which has the bar frequencies in them. As long as I use Nogier frequencies, it will still work.
Perfect.
Cool. Thank you. Okay, Anne says, does Auriculo 360 have more treatment protocols than Auriculo 3D? Yes, it does. We added quite a few as we did research kind of for the next generation of the software. And you, of course, always can create your own too. And now when you create them in Auriculo 360, it synchronizes them across all your devices. So if you create a protocol on your computer, you'll then have it in your phone or in your tablet as well, which I think is really great. That was one of the big upgrades that we added when we created Auriculo 360. And I've been reminded by Shireen, as we've talked about these various products, I wanted to make sure everybody is aware that you can get more information and that we actually have some specials going on. So if you're on this page, acugraph.com/hope, I'm going to reload it. It looks like it lost the menus. Here we go. There is a menu, or at the menu item at the top here that says acupuncture tools. If you click that, it'll take you right down here to where you can see the tools. And this is where you can learn more. You can find out what's on special and so on. We have some specific deals going on. I did want to point out The Point of Select Digital is currently $100 off at $495 during the Hope Symposium. And this is also where you can get Auriculo360, 2 different plans depending on what you want. So purpose of today isn't a sales pitch. Just want to leave it at that and let you know that you can avail yourselves of those deals if you need them. And if you have questions, you can always contact our staff through the chat feature on the website, through email, or just give us a call. All right.
I was going to say some of the new protocols that we have in Auriculo360, I won't name them all, but we had a lot of, we were lacking in women's health for hot flashes, menopause, so osteoporosis, vaginal dryness, all the things that come along with menopause symptoms. And there's tons of protocols within Auriculo360 now, and I'm finding them very valuable because that's the audience that I treat in my clinic. So when I'm treating them on the table, I can then send them home with power to self-treat from home on the ears. It's been magical.
Awesome. Very cool. Okay, a couple of other questions, and then we're going to jump into one other topic. Do you have any treatment protocols dealing with EMF hypersensitivity? I don't. That would be an interesting one to look at. And it would take a little bit of diagnostic sleuthing to come up with what systems are most affected. And then based on that, you could put together a protocol for those systems in the ear. But that could be very helpful. If you come up with one, please do share it with us, and we can share it with other users, because that's a big problem for a lot of people. Anne asked, is there a discount now for upgrading to 360 from 3D? There is not currently a discount. It's the package that'll let you do 3 screens is $129. And that's the standard price that it is. There's not a particular discount going on right now. Somebody said, get ready, lots of patients showing up with that. I assume you mean the EMF sensitivity, and that's true. Okay.
So Becky asks, do you need to have AcuGrowth to do 360? And the answer is no. 360 is a standalone program, and it just is auricular therapy. AcuGrowth is more about measuring body points, and you'll learn more about AcuGrowth as you're going through the training program, but 360 is a standalone.
Perfect. Thank you, Kimberly. Okay, one other thing I wanted to talk about, because we've talked a fair bit about treating points and some tips there. I want to talk about finding the points to treat. And as we've talked about in the seminar, there's various ways that you can locate what points to treat. You can simply pull out a chart and treat the points, period. You can test the points for sensitivity to see which points are active. And one way to do that is just by pressure sensitivity. Using a pressure tool, you can see if you invoke pain. There is the black and white hammer and the vase. That's a method used in Nogier's work. And then there's electrical testing. The point I wanted to make about electrical testing is this: regardless of what electrical tool you're using, and there's a number of good ones out there, but regardless of what tool you use, please keep in mind that the points are really small and that you have to be extraordinarily precise in your efforts to detect. And so I will pull this out and use it just as an example. I've got my probe here. This is on my Point of Select Digital, and I've got my ear here, and hopefully you can all see that, my nice little rubber ear model. And one of the main issues I see, regardless of what tool people are using, is they start scanning the ear and trying to find active points, and they say, well, not much is coming up. And scanning at that speed, you probably just ran over about 100 different points. And so I say, slow down. And they say, okay, so now I'm scanning the ear and I'm going slow and I'm still not finding anything. And you got to realize you're looking for pinpoint sized points on the ear. And many of the detectors have a very small electrode. If you look at that tip it's just a pinpoint inside the probe I'm using. And so what I teach people, and they finally get it, is you're moving about this fast. This is how you scan the area of a point. So if you're looking for Shen Men, like I'm in the area of Shen Men right here, I would be moving extremely slowly. And then you'll find all of a sudden, whoop, hey, there's active point and another active point that if you breezed by quickly, you would never find. So take that to heart. Be very precise, deliberate, and slow when you're searching for points. Make sure the ear is clean. We ran across that a number of times where people say, I'm not getting much, and the ear is oily or the ear is dry and there's a lot of kind of accumulation of dead skin. So it's okay to scrub with an alcohol wipe and let it dry and then scan again. And often you'll find that alone makes a big difference. In electrical detection, the number one problem that you face is the skin, unfortunately, but it's the only way, it's the only thing we can detect on. And so aside from visual inspection, looking for areas that are red, that are raised, that are flaky, that are dry, that are white, aside from areas like that, the only other thing you can do is electrically detect or check for sensitivity. So pay careful attention to technique and you'll get better results. So let's look more for questions. And folks, we're going to open it up now. Any questions you want to ask either in chat or if you want to unmute and let's talk in the remaining few minutes that we've got for the hangout today. Anything we want to talk about, bring it. EMF sensitivity has helped with balancing the brain hemispheres, nervous system, and spine. Interesting. So balancing the brain hemispheres, you might be looking at master oscillation point. Nervous system, there's going to be a number of points, and spine, there's going to be a number of points. So there's a starting point where you can test and find out.
We have a hand up, Adrian.
Oh, good. Okay. Sub-Zero is what it says on your screen name. Go ahead and unmute and talk to us.
Hi.
Hi.
Steinove from Norway. I was thinking about the blue and the white, Stimulus Pro.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the European version and the USA version. And I want to buy it from you, because I'm quite a fan of your thinking. But your kind of device is FDA approved, in the American way, and the white one is the European version. Mm-hmm. And I know it's the same stuff, it's the same device. It got the same properties and stuff. So I'm wondering if I buy a blue one from you and I use it in my clinic and it's not health approved from the European kind of view, will I kind of get in any trouble?
That's a good question. Thank you. So FDA cleared for sale in the US. That's the version we sell. There's a different version. It's white, but it's under the hood. It's exactly the same. It operates in the same way. It's the same device. It just has a different color case. And instead of having FDA clearance, it is CE marked for Europe. And with regard to using a non-CE device in your practice, I don't know if you can get in trouble or if there's regulatory enforcement for that sort of thing. But I would advise you to go ahead and purchase the one that's approved in Europe. And that way you don't have to worry about it. And
the device.
I don't want to do that, because I want to support you.
Well, I
The device-
appreciate that very much. Go ahead,
He
Kimberly.
mentioned at first that saying the Stim Plus Pro, but I just wanted to, everybody listening in, he's talking about the Pointo Select.
Yeah.
Oh,
the
sorry.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just wanted everyone to know what we were talking about.
Yeah, and we did a video on, you go to pointoselect.com and we did a video comparison between the two and talked about that because that question comes up. I do know that we have people that purchase kind of all over the world. We haven't had any reports of any kind of issues or problems, if that helps. But really, in the end, it's a choice you need to make based on what you're most comfortable with.
Okay, then I support you.
Well, that's very kind. Thank you.
Can I have another question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I was wondering about, you are kind of kind to us customers by giving a lot of free education and what's it called, class points or education points and stuff like that.
Yeah, CE credits. Yeah.
Yeah, CE credits. And I'm not kind of have a license number in kind of acupuncture or acupuncture school, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have the number to take the tests that I really want to do.
Oh.
Yeah. So when I get to the point when I have seen all the classes and stuff and I want to take the test, I get stopped because I don't have the license number. And by a mistake, sometime long ago, when it was about I think what's it called, rheumatic kind of problems with the bones and stuff like that. It was a class of that you had free, and I just pushed in my organization number, and I could take that test. Okay. And I get the diploma, but I don't feel, because I'm kind of want to get on the right side and don't get in trouble with the law and stuff like that. So if I do the same thing again on these new classes you have as free CE credits, I probably will be accepted, but I don't know if, because I'm not going to use it to anything, to promote things and stuff like that. It's just to get myself knowledge and the acceptance with myself that I can the literature that you are trying to express.
We don't do any regulatory reporting or anything like that. So the licensing body in Norway, whoever handles licensing, they're not going to use or accept these credits, and it's not something that we're going to report. So I don't think there's any issue with doing it that way. If it doesn't, if licensing is handled differently there, then you can use what you said, the organization number, that's fine.
Yeah, I have a lot of numbers, in TFT and NLP and all the REEF and TMC stuff, but not in the sticking on needles, So therefore, I just use electrical stimulation and frequencies and energy medicine and stuff like that.
Can I just say, when you're ready to take the test, is if you just put in one of your certification numbers, it's the only thing that is going to do for you to take the test. That certification number will be on your certificate. That's all. We don't submit it anywhere or do anything with it. And then you can only submit it if it will work in your place. So just submit a number that you're certified in, and we'll put that number on your certificate, and then you can take the test.
Yeah. So it's just like if I suddenly go to USA and find out I want to take a school there, then I can use that kind of diploma to say I have been through a kind of education in this way. Or
it's not a diploma you could use.
Or do we all have to be educated in acupuncture school before we go to that kind of education?
This is continuing education, meaning it's for people who already have a license to practice. That doesn't mean an acupuncture license necessarily, because there's other kinds of practitioners that also practice auriculotherapy, and every country handles it differently. In the US, these credits are used for people who already have a license so that they can renew their license, because every year or every 2 years you have to continue your training and get continued classes. So that's what these are for. But if you have further questions about that, you can reach out to us specifically.
I don't have, so take care, and thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, let's see. Next we have Howard says, one of the best things I've learned from Dr. Lee Chun Huang is her order of search zone chart. Great in real time, comprehensive rather than random search, though I usually do the latter. Wow. That'd be cool if there's a specific search zone order. If you happen to know where that chart might be available and you can put it in the comments, Howard, that'd be great. I'm sure folks would be interested in looking at that if it is something that's available. Let's see. How many times a week, Ingrid asks, do you have to treat the ear? Is one treatment a week enough? Because not all patients can come daily. Yeah, it's not something you have to do every day. And in an acute situation where you're trying to maximize treatment, you might do 2 or 3 treatments a week. But then between treatments, if you stick on the little seeds or the tacks or the pellets that we're talking about, then the patient can wear those on their ear. They can even press on them a couple of times a day, which will continue the treatment when they can't come to your office. So that's the best way to get maximum results in a case where you're really trying to get a lot of treatment in. Rose says you can put NA in the part for license number and it'll let you move on to the test portion. True. You can do that, or if you do have a license or certification, even if it's not acupuncture, you can put that in, and that's what it'll put on your certificate, which you'll probably want. Okay, using a laser electrical stimulation, for how long should the stimulation be? I find that laser is very effective very quickly, so about 15 seconds is typically what I do. Now that depends on the power of the laser. I like very low powered lasers. People that are using high powered lasers for much stronger stimulation, different laser vendors and manufacturers have different protocols. But I use very low power 5 milliwatt lasers. I tend to go about 15 seconds and get very good results with that. Okay, Simon says, having previously used the Stim Plus, where you could set a time for treatment, then moving to 0.0 Select without a timer. Not sure about the length of time I'm doing. Do you have a simple way of timing? Great question.
1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 1,000.
Yeah, counting in your head. You know, honestly, that's something that I wish the 0.0 Select had. Now, it's not a device that we designed, and so we kind of take what we get. But if I had an improvement that I'd like to see, it would be a self-time setting where you push the button and then it goes through a 15-second or a 30-second treatment and then automatically stops. But we'll keep wishing and see if something can be done about that.
You could sing the alphabet song until it's done and then move to the next one and sing the alphabet song. It's kind of like washing your hands.
Or if you're energy sensitive, you may be able to just sense when the point's been satisfied as well. I know folks that can do that. Okay, wow. that is an hour that went by quickly, and we're a little bit over that. So it looks like we probably need to finish up for today. John says treat for 15 seconds for point O select also. Yeah, that's typically what I do is 15 seconds. If you have any further questions, though, that we didn't get to today, please feel free to reach out to us. Go to our website. The simplest is go to AcuGrowth.com and hit the chat in the lower right corner. We're here to help. We would love to talk with you. And meanwhile, we appreciate you coming to the Hangout and spending some time with us today. Hopefully you picked up a nugget or two today that you can use. Dr. Kimberly, anything to add before we close?
Yes, so we had to change our day. Last time we did this on a Friday. Today we had to do it on Wednesday. This is the only Wednesday in the whole series. All the rest of them are at Friday. And we're getting deeper into AcuGraph. I'll be teaching the next segment, getting deep into the root and the branch. And I'm excited to see you here next week again.
And next week it will be Friday.
Yes.
Looking forward to it. All right, until then, everybody have a great week. Do lots of good out there. Bless the world, and we will see you next week. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye-bye.